Hi, welcome to an episode of Astral Projection Techniques. My name's Brianna,
I'm Katie.
and today we have with us Dick Landon. He's a member of Astral Projection Techniques on Facebook. He's been on several radio shows and podcasts, and he has also written a book. Dick, would you like to show us your book? I know it's fairly new. Back it up a little bit to the middle. There we go. Dick Landon, 2 Black Op, Fears of Catastrophic Disclosure. Interesting. I need to get my hands on it. I'm excited.
It's sci-fi.
Yeah, I like sci-fi. So, Dick, how are you tonight?
I'm great. It's sci-fi that has a real twist in consciousness. There's a lot of science kind of stuff in it. My background is engineering. And so I tried to keep it current, as far as government conspiracies, where the UFO investigation and disclosure is. And then it has it's a involved story with a lot of characters, and a lot of them are experiencing consciousness shifts, including astral projection and bilocation. But the whole thing has a lot of consciousness / out of the body stuff, which is my true love. And this is my first book, and I appreciate letting me hold it up like that.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate this group. I always have. Simon has been so encouraging, just like you guys, to all of us out here in the Netherlands, just trying to figure out life in general itself. And I'm really so thrilled to talk to you about this. And I want to emphasize that what you're doing, I know it takes some work and it takes some cycles, but I think it's well worth it. And in a sense, I'm not talking in a karmic sense or anything like that. I would like to talk about karma and reincarnation and afterlife. I'm really fascinated with the intricacies of those and how they might work with people, which I'm sure a lot of people out there are interested in too, even though it might be a little fringe to astral projection. Most of these things that we talk about in this group, being, I think, the avant-garde really on the internet, the astral projection people are not compared to any other group that I can think of, except maybe contactees that have and near-death experiencers that have such a broad range of spiritual and psychic intersections. And so this group, I think, is one of the vanguards, and the people involved in it are all vanguard, like William Pullman and Bob Peterson and Shaw. And well, I'm just so privileged to even be a part of it. My astral experience goes back to maybe some natural abilities when I was a kid, but anybody can do this. Just like Jade says, you have to put a lot of effort though in it. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything about becoming an astral, projector. You have to most of all, you have to have the passion and the cycles to do it. If you're not already, there are people with psychic abilities that are more prone to this. I'm always fascinating to hear their stories. I've been playing around a little bit lately with, I'm going to get his name wrong. Is it Jack Rivers? His latest technique that's so hot on our group. It reminds me of the phase a little bit. And I have escaped my body without vibrations before. So I was very fascinated with that latest technique. And so I guess I just want to say, that would keep doing what you're doing. The world needs it. Everybody wants to know what it might be like to cross over, to split the veil, as they say in ancient times, in ancient mystery schools. They would split the veil. It was called apocalypse. What we're doing is no little thing. It's funny. I've been on a couple podcasts about this, and I have, I'm talking to a couple experiencers right now, so you're going to have to tell me to shut up. But I was talking to some other, interviewers, and in particular, the question comes up, well, hey, what can you do for fun when you get out of your body? And I'm like, it's not for fun. It's for you, the advancement and the ascension of your spirit, of your being, of your higher self. It's not for fun, so if you if you approach it on a purely spiritual level, a level that you have to throw the ego away. The ego kind of goes away when you go out there anyway. I mean, a lot of people find out that they're not exactly the same when they get out of their bodies. It's personally, when I get out of my body, I'm like a 5-year old. My emotions are like so there. I'm wearing them all over my sleeves, and I have to be really detached. And that's where your meditation practice comes in. And so, yeah, okay, I'm gonna shut up now. So you have questions, but I really appreciate you guys, and more power to you. The world needs people like you doing podcasts like this, and I have a lot of hope for you guys.
Thank you. We were really excited about having you on. We've been following you for a while, listening to your radio shows, and we always support you in the group and get excited whenever you're on something and post you. So we appreciate you just as much as you appreciate us.
Yeah, it's great. Everything's great about this group.
Yeah, I agree. So you said that you were having experiences as a child. Can you go into that a little bit more into detail about how that started and where it's led to you?
Yeah, I would say I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I was just leaving my body spontaneously. Um, some people go, "Spontaneous? What's that?" Well, you're not asleep and you're not awake, and then all of a sudden you're out of your body and you're looking at your physical body. So that's spontaneous. Uh, I mean, in the most clear sense, that's spontaneous. And when you do it consciously, of course, most people roll out and they're just in their bedroom. So when I was a kid, I'd roll out, I'd be in my bedroom, and I didn't even know I was rolling out. But I had a tendency, and this I've never confessed to anybody anywhere. I couldn't go to sleep, so I used to rock in my bed when I was a kid, you know? And, you talk to Jade Shaw about rocking, you're rocking in bed. It's like she loves movement, right? And dancing. You're moving your etheric body around, and that your etheric body, your astral body, it's same thing. And so I would shake it out and all of a sudden find myself floating in the room. So I practiced. My favorite thing to do was I go through the windows, and, we had the chimney, and I went through the chimney too. It was brick would come through. I was in the second floor with my brother. I had a twin brother. We're both in the same room. And, so I would just go outside and through the wall, through the chimney, the windows. I didn't think anything of it at all. And then my favorite thing to do was I'd go in the front yard, and there was, telephone pole wires, and I would jump up and down on the wires, springing off how light you are when you get out of your body. And I hit the top of the wires and down. I'd bounce back and forth until I could just go woo, like up into the moonlight, and just fly around. But I wouldn't go too far because you're just a kid and you're going like, wow, how far am I going to go here? I better turn around. But those were my first experiences with it at a very young age. And of course, through my teen years and 20s, I think I probably was doing it with sleep paralysis because, you kind of party and you're kind of really exhausted and hungover maybe. You can't sleep very well, and all of a sudden you're in sleep paralysis, and the archetypes are jumping up and down on your chest, you know. So yeah, there's a I don't want to scare people, but the first few times you consciously get out of your body, it's, it's like you should get an award for it because it's very difficult the first few times. And, you guys probably have experiences where in the beginning you had to face a level of fear, and it's fear really that's primordial. It's like brainstem kind of like, flight or fight fear. And what you have to do is you have to center yourself somehow and get through it to be able to get anything out of those sleep paralysis, those first times you get out, or even if you do it consciously, you're going to still, there's people that do this. They know what I'm talking about. The people thinking about doing it on the group talk endlessly about what am I doing wrong? What technique can I use? The fear, I can't get past the vibrations. I can't get past the fear. I can't. Well, that's because, children, you have to center yourself more. You have to come from a place of complete tranquility and keep it there and keep going, go through it. And that way you'll stay out longer too. The best anchoring ability you can ever have, getting there and staying there, is having a stillness within inside you. If you where thoughts, where thought, your emotions will be there, but they won't be activated if they never reach the level of thought. It's kind of like, I guess the Buddha would say something like, it's being aware of your awareness. So it is subtle, but there's nothing subtle about getting out of your body. It's like jet engines, people stomping in your room, people jumping on your chest. So yeah, I always get a kick out of when somebody says, "Oh, he's more subtle body." So yeah, a lot of contradictions to it.
Definitely there is. I don't have, we talked about this in the last episode. I don't have vibrations. Sometimes I don't even know I'm out. I've got up and walked, to the other room and I'll flip on a light and it doesn't work, or
Yeah.
I'll say, well, this doesn't look right, or there's a strange glow in here, or this isn't my house. And then I'll realize, okay, let's go play around a little bit.
Oh, that's
But I
good.
don't have, yeah, I don't have the sleep process. I don't have vibrations. I started back in 2020 kind of
Wow.
spontaneously too.
Well,
So I just turned on a meditation and I was looking at my body at the end of the bed. So
you
I
know,
can't speak much on the freight train that goes on with people.
were you using any binaural beats or hemisync?
So I didn't have any headphones on, but I had on a meditation. I actually still have it saved in my YouTube videos. I just had it on my TV. I had a
Mm.
paranormal experience while I was awake earlier that evening, and I had been seeing things about astral projection in my news feed. And this
Yeah,
was in 2020, in October of 2020 to be exact. And
yeah,
so I gave it a whirl, and my mom ended up passing in December of 2020. So I believe that it does help with that, like that aspect of somebody passing or
yeah,
knowing that you go on, and that's something I'd like to jump into with you
yeah,
and the show too, about how you think that helps people that have lost loved ones, and it's all hand in hand.
yeah. What about you, Katie? Are you spontaneously, or did you get vibrations, or did you do sleep paralysis, or what?
Well, just about a little over a year ago, I just had a spontaneous experience. Before that, I didn't really know anything about astral projection or anything.
Really?
And after I had that spontaneous experience, I mean, all I could think about was, the vibrations, they really got me. And then floating up to the ceiling, and I thought I had maybe a seizure and died or
Yeah,
something.
really.
That's what but so, Google searching, trying to the vibrations is what really stuck with me because it was like almost so pleasant in a
Yeah,
way, and,
I,
and then it kinda led me into, all these articles about astral projection,
yeah,
and then I found our Facebook group, but and since then, I've used, binaural beats and
yeah,
headphones and
yeah,
HemiSync, and that really seems to help me a lot more to induce, vibrations, but the vibrations have kinda changed.
yeah,
Now they're, like, a little more subtle, like,
yeah.
at first that it was
Uh,
like that jet engine,
mhm.
and now it's a lot, more subtle, and I like that you're talking about how hard it is to get out because I've been able to get out, but it's lately I've struggled getting out again, so I've talked to Bree about that, so, yeah, I think, I don't know. It's just nice to hear the techniques I need to, try, like the rocking, I haven't really tried that yet. But I also I heard you say, in one of your other interviews, you talked about neuroplasticity and how, just I don't know, just kind of like and correct me if I'm wrong, just the kind of opening up, I mean,
The third eye,
our
or mm,
right, just being more open to these experiences, um, It changes, our neuroplasticity, and you talked about they studied Buddhist monks
Yeah.
over time, and their neuroplasticity increased after or they showed that after so long, the meditation and I don't know if my spontaneous experience happened because I was really, I was focusing on listening to a lot of NDEs, and I was just kinda contemplating that, what happens next and for so long, so I don't know if that had anything to do with
Oh, I
why
bet.
I had a spontaneous experience or not.
Oh, I bet it did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it's funny that you say that you wondered if you were having a stroke or something because I'm pretty sure Bob Peterson had written about his first experiences getting out of his body. And Jurgen Ziever also, he ran right to his doctor. So, you know, they stay subtle. And here's the cream of the crop guys like going the first time, they're like, I'm having a stroke. There's something wrong. And then
there's something wrong.
their doctor would say everything's fine. And the neuroplasticity is very interesting too. That you're talking about the Buddhist monks, 40 years of meditation. And,
Yeah.
this astral projection and bilocation is like just a sidebar for those guys. They have so many incredible people that have dedicated their lives to the spiritual realm exclusively, living in cages. And of course, part of that is what Buddhists, you would have to, give yourself, and I'm not talking karma again, but when you when you're giving of yourself in their light is that is uh to the higher realms you giving yourself to when you give yourself and you're generous with your life with other people, even the smallest things you do, reverberate through all this and might come back in a past life regression or um or a life review, say, if you decide to reincarnate. But the idea is that your ego, which generates the fear, that's the only thing that generates fear is your ego. Once that is dissipated somewhat with your practices of meditation and contemplation, like you listening to the near death experiences, then that sets in where you're not focused so much and it's and once you get out or to get out on all the fun you're going to have when you get out, or like was making light of that, what you want to do is really concentrate on, the higher powers. And when you get out of your body, I don't care if you're an atheist, I don't really care. If you do it and you're conscious of the philosophical, psychological, physiological changes between this reality and those outside that you could visit, you can't come back and not believe in a higher power. You can't. So the idea of progressing, everybody has dry spots. I mean, it's incredible how long I could have a dry spot for, and then I'll have bum bum bum. That's only because I'm in the frame of mind for it. Lately, I'll tell you about my dry spot. It's turned out to be a little bit of like a carnival act to me. I hate to say that. I'm not putting it down at all, but in a sense that I should rephrase that, not so much as a carnival act as maybe a hack. Like I'm hacking into a spiritual area, like people that take DMT, and they have this incredible out of the body experience, rush, boom, they've cheated the ferryman and they're out of their body and they're in the other worlds, and there's all these machines that come around and they're trying to make there might be something to that they're at a certain vibration and they're in a construct that DMT, if they're pumping it through your veins or whatever, you take enough ayahuasca enough times and you stay out longer, that you're probably in a construct that we could travel to. I mean, but you hear about not only in the DMT, but in our group that people might have like experiences with all kinds of elementals, like or Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, or they find themselves in like this maturation of strangeness. That's what the DMT is. It's like it's a shortcut, and it reminds it reminds me of another story where I think it was Dom, am I getting his name wrong? Ram Dass was in a party. He was at a party with the Dalai Lama, and he offered, hey, you want to take, some acid? This back in the 60s or 80s or something. And the Dalai Lama said, yes, no problem, man. Hit me up. And so he took like 7 milligrams of it, or 7 hits, basically. And so everybody was like just waiting. And then, and this is a hard story to comprehend. It's hard for me to comprehend this too, but maybe it has to do with the neuroplasticity, that the guy has in his head. And so they said, well, what do you feel, Dalai Lama? What do you see? And you seeing colors and things moving? Or he says, no, it's all the same. There's no change. This isn't working. He just says it didn't affect him. So, it's anecdotal, and I don't know what it means, except that, the mind is all powerful. It's just completely all powerful. You guys know that as soon as you get out of your body, you're flying around doing all this stuff. But it's so powerful that there was a study for depression with psychotropics, basically psilocybin. It turned out it was in England, and it's very, very effective, but it's 70% effective with only those people that peaked. Now, what does that mean? They said it was letting go. They said that those depressed people that could not cross over that veil, like the same veil that we go through, basically, and let go and surrender to whatever. It
Like an
sounds,
ego death.
yeah, yeah. And what happened was 70% of them that would peak and cross over and cross the veil, their depression was solved. It was like for 3 or 6 months they were monitoring. The other people that would fight it and, basically have a bad trip, or even though they're, under control conditions and all this business.
Mhm.
So the power of this letting go, or this veil splitting, and the neuroplasticity when you come back, and the integration work you do when you come back, is going to give you psychic abilities. This is eventually for everybody. It's going to give you, well, when I say psychic abilities, it's everything: clairvoyance, you read people's minds, the future, recognitives, maybe the aliens will come and meet you, after that. They all go into one. And they're very interested in this too, by the way. My alien antennas are going up. They're interested in people that astral project, because I interviewed, as Brianna knows, Vincent Fields, and he had the most difficulty in the beginning with groups of grays that would leave him alone. And I don't want to fearmonger anybody, but he said, okay, he said, I'm going to let go. And so he went with them, and they took him for a ride, and they left him, fine after that. I mean, they didn't bother him anymore. He could just walk right by him or right through him if they were there in the room when he first came out. But he said, well, what do you want to know? Why me? What do you, this particular set of grays, said to Vincent, your abilities to astral project, we want to learn that. We want, so what that means, I can't say for sure. But it is something to ponder, that there's supposedly super advanced civilizations out there visiting us and capturing us to look at our astral projection abilities. So you tell me what that means. I don't know what it means. Anyway, next
And
question.
when you say grays, do you mean what's the reason that you call them grays? Is it the
Oh,
color,
yeah.
just the color?
Well, sometimes they're blue and green or whatever. I haven't personally come across that. I have to really go back in my memory. I have come across light beings. That's what I've come across, which were the grays. I guess they span when I say grays, it's in ufology, people that have contactees, describe them mostly just interest at probing them physically, and
I
yeah. So we're getting
I
off topic here.
I just yeah, I know, and I'm sorry. I was
Okay.
at that piqued my interest 'cause I had one of my experiences out. I had, like, asked to meet a guide, my guide,
Oh yeah.
and anyway, like a, formless, faceless, gray colored,
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Sure.
mean, I say formless, but
Yeah.
I just remember the color gray, so that's why. I just thought that was interesting.
Oh yeah. 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 I would say in the beginning, for me, I always asked for I get on my knees in the backyard and pray as soon as I got out of my body for uh, my guides. But anybody would show up, any kind of being would show up. It's like, it's like a dog whistle for entities, just, they're, I mean, we can talk a little bit about that at some point, but I just find it so fascinating that you got out and you had the same experience basically I did, where I had these very strange beings show up and I put my heart and soul into them in the beginning. Most all the beings that showed up, I just put my heart and soul into them to the point where I'd be hugging and crying because they wouldn't let me go any further, and I wanted to go further. And so those aren't your spiritual guides. Those are just yeah. Brianna shaking her head.
Well, I think me and you talked about that on the phone whenever we did our little pre-screening
Yeah.
before this about I went through that tunnel and I ended up in this room and there was pins of light. It was all dark and it almost looked like shutters and there was these pins of light. It looked like just a room and I to my knowledge, I thought it maybe was out in space somewhere. Well, as I was going through this vent and falling very slowly down to the ground inside of whatever this room was, there was like this grayish shadow being that went by and he stopped and he or she had they stopped and looked at me and then went right through the wall. Well, once I hit the ground, I had both my hands sitting on, beside me, and I was sitting like, with my knees bent on the ground. And I see these other beings that look just like these, the one I seen, and their eyes are glowing. And as soon as they notice me, they flock to me, and I'm looking up at them, and they're looking down at me. And they're not saying anything. I'm not getting any telepathic nothing. They're just looking at me. And I just got the sense of that they wanted something I had and that was early on, and I just aborted it. I got this really strange smell. Do you smell in the astral? I mean, I know other people have said they do, but I
Um,
smell my senses are so heightened with my
um,
nose, it is
um,
crazy. But
yeah.
I got this strange smell and that I just didn't feel not threatened, but I just felt like they wanted something I had. And I was like, that was a nope mission, as Bob calls them, a nope. It was a nope.
Yeah. Have you
So
felt
we've all had the same type of experience, it seems like.
yeah. Have you felt the astral wind?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Every
crazy.
time I get out, I fall for a really long time. So I'm always, it's some type of wind or but that's doesn't matter how I exit, I'm falling where I'm getting there. And sometimes I'll fall through what looks like space and I'm falling through like colors of light, like
Yeah.
different almost like rainbows of light. I fell through like rings of light and I've seen gases of colors places. But yeah, I felt every time I get out, I feel winded. It feels like I've jumped out of a jet plane.
You set something off on me too, because I thought when you said there was no telepathy or anything, with these entities, I have to agree. I had to like ponder that because with the higher beings, there's telepathy and also elementals like animals and stuff. I have like, and how do you talk to an animal? It's not Disney World. And yeah, so the telepathy thing might be a key to, like, who am I talking to here really? Discernment is like very important. Do you guys
Mhm.
kind of know what I mean by discernment? Like when you get out of your body and you're just in your room, you go through the walls, and I recommend everybody get out of your room, get out of your house, and get out of the neighborhood. Just get
Yeah.
out of there just start going someplace. And personally, the people, the beings, the entities and slash um, spirit guides show up when they're supposed to show up, you know. So you will, before you get away from your house, you know, you might even run into a couple of characters, not to mention, in your room and, shadow people. I see a shadow person like so rarely now because, I have no time or cycles for them at all in my head when I get out. And I see him in the living room standing there. I'll just say, all right, buddy, let's go. We're going flying. Come on with me. And they come with me and stuff. And then I would stop because they were persistent, and I cut them some slack. And I remember one time there's these giant redwoods outside our house. And so I took off and he was with me. She was with me. It was with me. And well, it was a guy. And I got up in the tree and it was a young man with, they have all kinds of like looks, but mostly humanoid for me. In the end, in the beginning, they can be elementals and then change into a humanoid, which is another whole story. But then I got up in the tall redwoods and we stopped and we're floating or standing on top of a redwood branch. And he's like going, you can't do this. What are you doing? You have to go back. You can't, I don't, so as soon as you get any kind of like, and you'll get morphs too, if they morph in front of you and do like any kind of morphing at all or, shape shifting, it's like, forget it, man. I'm not wasting my time with you. Just, go on your own. Don't invite them. I made a mistake inviting these guys sometimes to come with me. It's not lucid dreaming. That's for sure. You're in an environment and you're going to attract what your thoughts, like William Bullman says, it's thought. The higher you go into the astral, the more powerful your thoughts will be. So they better be pure, You have to have the subconscious mind, and this ego thing I'm talking about is really important in those areas. And then it's the people can meet their mom and dad in the afterlife. I haven't done that yet. In my dreams, I have a lot. And I know they come to me in my dreams. Well, not exclusively, because I have had, I have had my aunt right after her, wasn't a funeral. It's like where they talk about a person anyway. So we'd have just that night and I had a sleep paralysis and boom, the phone rings. It's like the Addams Family phone next to my bed. Where did that come from? Okay, great. I'm out of my body. I pick up the phone and it's my aunt and she's giving me a recipe because she's an incredible baker and cook. And my first words are, Jean, you're dead. And she said, I know, they give you a couple of weeks. Give you a couple of weeks. And then my father came to me the same way. It was a sleep paralysis kind of thing. Boom, he's in a rocking chair. A lot of times, if it's from my understanding, is when you're with them, it's all telepathic and there's no talking and it's mostly just hugs, and emotional. That's the way it's been with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've seen my grandmother like that.
yeah, it is amazing.
It is.
So yeah, people should do this. They can experience some of this. Can I just quickly say something about reincarnation and karma? And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I said this. I said this once on. Everybody can talk about anything on our forum, and somebody is going to help them with it. Okay, that's what's so great about our forum. Our forum, people are always saying that Astral Projection Techniques group. Everybody's a mama. Everybody's a daddy, and they're going to take care of you. And there's minimal crap from anybody. And I just find that so great. So I brought something up about reincarnation karma. So I had a couple questions about it. And maybe it was in a podcast too. But I wish I remembered her name. She's such a good lady and she's so active, came to me and said, tell me some more about this karma and reincarnation stuff. So in a quick review, I just want to say, there's no judgment in the afterlife, okay? There's only love. There's only ascension. You are a part of the universe. You are part of a very special, maybe I want to get a little egotistical here. Maybe an elite group being human. I'm not positive about that, but there's, when the aliens come around and ask, everybody about why you astral traveling, we want to learn how to do it. So it kind of crosses my mind. But what it is that you're going to be looking at yourself. Your higher self is always a part of you. It's part of the God spark. It's part of the source. When you get out, you are closest to that. That's what you have to associate with, is that spiritual part of yourself. And in death and near-death experiences, people experience the bliss. They experience the awe, that Jade talks about, and the spiritual transformation that Jade talks about. It's an incredible, all encompassing experience. And it is going to be like that just when you die too. You get out. If you consciously stay at a level of silence and of pure love, devotion, and giving of yourself, you'll more than likely have a part of yourself in a review. That review will include everything in your life, all your other past lives, and in your higher nature that you're in, your source consciousness, your unity consciousness, you will make the decision if you want to come back. You want to come back and, in a Buddhist kind of way and say, oh, I want to experience I don't agree with this. This is another thing along with the reincarnation. I mean, if there's no forced reincarnation, is what I'm trying to say. There's no forced reincarnation. The karma is what Eastern religions say. It's the equivalent of the Western religion's hell. That's what karma is. It's the equivalent. And so they're saying, you will be judged, you will, sacrifice. And then the Buddhists like to say, go back and discover cruelty, discover suffering, discover pain, and the fires of these most powerful negative emotions will chisel you into a greater source consciousness. So next time you might not have to come back. BS. I'm sorry. BS. You were created in how can something so perfect as the source unity create you and say you need correction or improvement? It's not there. It's not there. You are there to ascend, period. So the karma is just, it's another one of those dogma things. It just happens to be, kind of attractive to New Age people and whatever, Buddhists. I'm not putting it down. If you want to, I'm just saying that you have to be more honest with people when you tell them all these things, not to mention, what the church teaches us too. So in all of that, what I'm saying is your ego is lessened by a great significant amount. You're closer to your higher self, but the higher self has free will too. That free will is, hey, I want to stay in the astral. I want to go to a higher level. I want to go to the highest level. I want to learn to ascend within this magnificence of these solid creative worlds. You're not floating around in these solid creative worlds. They are real constructs. And I've been to some of them. They are amazing. So I know I'm preaching here a lot. I don't mean to just pound on religions per se. I just want people to be more honest and open and and more thoughtful and respectful for who they really are, and not be, like William Bullman. He just pounds on belief systems, right? He pounds. I mean, he's a dog, on a bone he just gnarls belief systems to death. He knows that is such a limiting factor for everyone that's doing this stuff. So that's my 2 cents on that stuff.
Yeah. I think that is really interesting about the reincarnation, the karma. I mean, listening to, like you said, William, when he talks about those things, is just kind of a huge weight is lifted off your shoulders when you are presented with this, like, possibility that, hey, it's, we don't have to karma is, like you said, it's just another belief system
Yeah. Yeah, it
that
is.
and you can buy into it if you want to or not, and if you do, then you might be limiting yourself and being able to, um, uh
Do
I
you
don't
guys
know where I'm going with that, but I like what you're saying.
Yeah. Do you guys ever listen to Darius Wright? Now, Darius is never wrong. He's right. You never heard of Darius Wright?
No.
No?
That's with a W. Look him up. He was on
Okay.
coast. He was on Coast to Coast just last week. He's been on a couple times, but he's a renegade. He's he doesn't read anything. He doesn't write anything. He doesn't teach anything. What does he do now? I think he might do some one-on-one stuff, and I don't know how he makes a living, really. If I had money, I'd give him some. But he's somebody to look into. My
Yep.
God, if you wanted to get a blowout podcast, Darius Wright, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, about this stuff.
We'll have to check him out.
Yeah,
I got a question for you. Have you were talking about, a little bit of religion and different things, and have you ever astral projected and knew that you were in a type of heaven or as close as you possibly think you could get to that
yeah,
realm or that
yeah,
plane?
definitely.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing for affirmations and intentions is I want to sing, fly, and go to Summerland. I have a real thing for singing when I get out of my body, and I can attract like really good beings, good entities with singing.
Wow.
So the Summerland is, I told you about in our talk about well, all I can say is he was a leprechaun, and I goes flying with him, and he'd hold me around my neck. And one time we were he was captured by these two big like giants, and
Mhm.
I have giants in my book, by the way, the religious ones. Man. If anybody's into giants, and he was in a tent outside of my house, and I said, I got to get that guy because he was just a sweet little munchkin. I really like that guy. And so I got him, and then they came after me. This isn't a heaven thing. This is just a lower astral area. And then they came, yeah. So they're attacking me. They had two giant dogs, and the dogs are big and gnarly. And so I had him holding around my neck, and we went right through the dogs and went right through the giants, and they just puff. They turned into smoke, black smoke.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. But as far as the levels, I would say I've been to levels that I certainly would like to be a resident at. There's an astral city I've been to a few times, and I'm not really a city guy, but it seems like I end up there. Maybe yeah. So, and they're just fantastic. Everything's free. There's no money. And everybody has a creative edge to them. One time I was sitting in this bar. I might have told this at a different podcast, I'm sure, but it was intense because I was sitting at a bar at a table, and there was a big mirror next to me. And so I said, okay, I'm going to look in this mirror because everybody likes to talk about mirrors, right? And water and things like that in the spirit world. So I looked in the mirror, and I'm like Katie, this beautiful blonde woman. And I look away, and then I look in the mirror again, and I'm a Aborigine, like 100 years old, woman, and a woman again. I look away, and I look back, and it's a young kid with red hair and green eyes and freckles. I don't know where he came from. He looked almost like an alien. So yeah, and the levels of heaven, there's a lot of drudgery in the lower areas. And I believe this is where people cannot either realize they're dead, um, or they're punishing themselves essentially for their transgressions. After a life review, they probably went, "Well, I'm such a shithead." So they wound up there, because that was their reaction. And I started telling you about this one, Brianna, because you asked me about it explicitly about, not, in these lower astrals, how can you tell the difference or whatever? Forgot your question exactly. But it was a blacksmith along this like dusty road going into a town. He was a big guy and he was human and he had like pure desperation in his eyes. I'm floating. I always, when I'm wherever, I'm never walking anywhere in the astral in any level. I'm always like, I'm floating along or flying. And he comes out and he grabs me while I'm flying. And he grabs me. I go, it's like a construct, it's solid. It's like, everything's solid. And I go, hi, and he's just desperate. And I am getting the vibes from him, it's telepathic. And I said a white lie to him. I said, let me come back. I said, I'll come back. I'll help you. See, he wanted to go up with me. He wanted to hold on to me and just zoom up to a higher level. He was well aware that, these levels that you go to in the medium, lower, whatever, everybody knows. I mean, they see you and they're kind of awestruck really when you're flying in the low levels. They don't fly in the lower levels. That's my experience. And I've asked them and they said, no, too much energy, too much trouble. They know about it and everything. They see people like us maybe visiting them or other beings and entity, helping them with their transition to ascension from those levels. So it's all, the repercussions are all in your mind when you cross over. And, of course, when you permanently cross over and you leave your body permanently, and, they want to say the silver cord's cut. That's another figment of people's imagination, this silver cord thing. You don't need any freaking silver cord, but you cross over and you're clean. Say when you die, your ego and your spirit have more or less separated, but you're still yourself. Every they give you an incredible life review. What are they they're going to drop the veil on you after they give you your life review if you don't go back to Earth and reincarnate? They say, oh, we're going to put you in the naughty room and we're going to take all those past lives away from you. And what we just showed you, that was all your experiences of this life and your past lives, you're going to the naughty room. And no, it's not like that. They can't do that to you. When you're in another construct of heaven, you are yourself. You are maybe a number of your past lives knowledgeably, having that knowledge. And so I just thought of something which I've seen on the forum very rarely, that I want to run by you. When you separate from your body, okay, the ego and the fear is going to keep you there. You won't separate. But when you do separate, there's this thing where you might jump between astral and lucid dreaming and dreams, and you jump back and forth. There's a lot of talk of that on the forum. But what I was trying to get to there with that, you cut the cord, whatever, figuratively, that when you're dead completely, you don't jump in back and forth, but you do, because your body's still there and you are connected to it. You're not, it's asleep and you're out of it, but your subconscious is wide awake. So there's this duplicated activity going on of your mental faculties when you're out of your body. So when you get out of your body, like Jürgen Siever and Bob Peterson and all these guys say, study your surroundings, pick something up, study it hard, and anchor yourself. And also you can spin around and rub your face and rub your hands together. These kind of anchoring activities separate you more from your subconscious mind, so you don't get what I call dream creep. And dreams can be creepy. So you're cutting yourself more cleanly from your subconscious ego mind. You want to cut yourself from that. And I always, like I said, I'm a 5-year-old when I get out, so I have a lot of problems. I can't remember to anchor myself, and I'm a mess. In a sense that I can't stay out too long. I mean, I run into one emotional thing after another, and then after one or two emotional things and I'm cooked. I'm back in my body. So, but like I said, it's an experience. It's the greatest experience anybody could have in this world alive, as far as I'm concerned, by far. I mean, sex is good. I'm not arguing it, but I
Right.
mean, and love, and all that stuff and family. But
All the human experience and
yeah, of course, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a question if, you know, if you, uh, had another experience, I mean, the ideal experience, the next one that
Oh,
you have, if you could go anywhere, experience anything, what
wow.
would be something you would maybe if you hadn't experienced something or something you wanted to repeat?
Wow. What a question. Save that for the forum. My God, what a question. Um, I'm going to jump on it though. I'm not going to let that one go.
Think about it for a minute.
What?
If you think about it for a minute.
Yeah, no, I don't have to think about it too hard. Mine is going to be definitely getting as close to source or God that I can get. I want to experience, they talk about the different levels in the ancient mystery schools. They'll talk about, the mental and the physical or in the spiritual level. And, so, it's just returning. A lot of people say it's returning to home. They'll refer to it as home. So it's quite simply, I would just say that would be my utmost best. I can wait though until I die, but I mean, what's interesting about returning to home and source and like feeling that bliss, that incredible, indescribable feeling, it's like you're not a heroin addict, but you are on this stuff. I mean, it's just an incredible feeling you have when you get close to source and get close to those purely divine creatures that are out there. And I have been close to some of them. I don't last long. My emotions, I just explode. I'm crying. I'm a mess, like I said. But if I could sustain staying out and reaching the highest areas to see the creative worlds that source has in store for us, with some effort on our part. There might be levels that are totally indescribable. I mean, William Bullman talks about becoming a point of light. Now, I'm not I I'm kind of more of a body guy, but I know when I'm moving around in those higher areas, it's really fast and instantaneous. But I still, my encounters with beings are, you know, a body on body sort of thing because I'm hugging them and, it's very solid. So the point of light, Bowman's way above me. I mean, if that's where I'm headed, but it's something to think about to discover what really ascension is, what like, enlightenment is. What is enlightenment, right? Everybody's chasing it. To me, enlightenment is to be able to integrate some of what we know of the other worlds or the outer worlds or the inner worlds, to integrate that in a very healthy way in this world. Like the story about the MRIs on the Buddhists that, their brains, they're 90 years old, they had brains of 25-year-olds, I mean, they have integrated and the health thing of the astral should not be ignored. Yeah, I was sick one time. I had a heart operation and I wouldn't put it on anybody to get through it. And so I did it with meditation and astral projection. I recovered. Well, for 6 months, really, it was like, that's all I did. I just meditated and I didn't sleep much at all. It wouldn't let me sleep. I couldn't sleep and I didn't take any drugs. So I just meditated and I would get out of my body spontaneously really fast. Uh, and that's also known in the group. It doesn't matter what condition you're in. It's kind of like that phenomenon where people are dying and they have dementia and they sit up in their bed right before they die and they go, "Hey, it's Aunt Judith and Uncle Jim," and they recognize all their family and they start talking about old times with them, and they had dementia and they're dying from Alzheimer's and dementia. So you explain that to me. So
That
there's
was
so
my next question was about health benefits. I have a cousin that's on hospice with dementia, and he's seeing his dad and his mom in his room, and I taught him how
oh,
to well, I mean, I gave him the tools to learn how to astral project a few years ago,
okay.
and he called me and he said, "It's real, it's real. I can't believe it. It's real." And it just totally changed him. He was really upset after his mom passed away. She passed away on Halloween, and his wedding anniversary is also on Halloween. So for years, he didn't celebrate Halloween, didn't celebrate his wedding anniversary. Well, last year, his last birthday party where he was coherent and he was in good spirits that we celebrated it in
Mhm.
Halloween decorations and he went all out and it just totally
Yes.
changed his outlook on his situation with yeah, just missing his family and him missing his mom and yeah, associating that with Halloween. So I was wanting to know if you thought that it I think it has health benefits and healing benefits for sure.
The need for this type of really basic training in hospitals and at hospice is really important, I think. I don't know if there's an organization out there going into hospitals and doctors and talking to them about, directly about these experiences that are so spiritual in nature. Doctors don't care. Generally, they don't care, until, Evan Alexander, flies around with a butterfly, after his near death experience. Now he's, the number one proponent of it and they devote their whole lives to it. But yeah, it's, the health benefits I think are extreme to say the least. You take better care of yourself. You can't do this. You can't like drink, smoke, take drugs, stay up all night, abuse yourself in any number of ways and expect to astro travel on a regular basis. You can't. So that's part of the integration. People that discover that they might, if they drop off a protocol that they had discovered, their astro projecting a little more regularly. it's such a it's such a hard thing to pin down, but I know when I don't drink and I don't overeat, especially closer to bedtime, that I have a much better chance to astral project. So that in itself is going to keep you healthier. And then there's the neuroplasticity, which is a huge thing. I mean, how prevalent is all these neurological diseases? They're chasing this consciousness stuff like crazy. They want to know where it is in the brain and help people, deal with, maybe not getting some neurological problems or across the board, across your whole body. So the brain, it takes what 35% of all your blood flow. It's most powerful computer in the universe. So yeah, you can't go wrong. I did get out of my body and I put my hands on my legs one time just for fun. When I get out of my body in my room, I'll kind of test the walls with my hand and see if I could put my hand through the wall as I'm walking. Kind of like a gladiator with the wheat field. My hand in the wall. But so I put my hands on my legs. I sat on the back part of my bed and I go, holy shit, excuse me. This is great. I can feel my legs. And so what I want to do, once again, this is a little bit of a hacking thing, so I don't know if I'll do it or not, especially since I'm a 5-year-old when I get out about, but I'd like to put my hands on my head, right? And my healing, because when I was in the outer, what I did that one time. See, my thing is I get out of my body. I want to do one thing. I have intention. I do it, except for the singing and the Summerland and the flying. I always say that, but I wanted to heal somebody. So I got out and right away I was in Summerland. It was beautiful, big playground, beautiful trees. Everything's like talking to you and the leaves are like changing colors and it's like distracting almost, like you just get so pulled in to the beauty in some of these places in Summerland. And sure enough, here comes a crippled boy on crutches with his father. And I said, "Hey, can I heal your son? Can I try to heal your son?" It was cool. It was his ankle was totally deformed, and yeah, that's in the astral. And a lot of people say, "Oh, that was in your imagination, Dick." I go, "Oh, okay, fine." But once you get out and you see the wonders that's out there, anything's possible. The creative powers are incredible. And to heal yourself when you get out, sure. You know, your brother might be doing that too at the same time, getting out of his body and saying, "What is this thing with my brain? I heal it up, get rid of it," you know, or the miracle, the idea of miracles, okay? Take the Catholicism, where the saints, you know, they all fly and floating and levitating and astral projecting, and they make them saints like Avalon and Cupertino, the guy from Cupertino, way back in the 15th century. They hide them away though, and you know they're like savants that the Catholic Church wouldn't recognize them. But now, 200 years later, they're canonized. They're saints. So it's like, what's the game? It's like it's a game. Yeah.
I agree. It's kind of all over the place, and there's so many belief systems that go into it, and you know, it. What do you have to say about that, Katie?
Yeah, the I I was going to say I remember listening to your other podcast, the other interview you did, and you had mentioned that about the saints
Yeah.
and it's when you're presented with I mean, all of us have people in our lives and family or friends that we wish could just engage with us about this, this topic because it's
Yeah.
when it happens to you and you discover it, it's just so you're so excited about it but there are a lot of people and that in my life that I know just wouldn't accept this and they are very some in Catholics, some Baptists, and so it's interesting that if they just don't know the history there, like you said,
Mm.
when they're making these people who had these
It's
experiences
ironic.
saints.
Very
Yeah,
ironic. Very ironic.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then and then there's so much talk out there about the fear factor and so many people talking about, what's to be oh, this could happen and this could happen and all the scary stuff, there's a lot of that we've talked about before, and we talked about it with Bob, and so I think until people experience it for themselves, but like you said, they really have to go into it with that positive mindset and lose that fear, or they might have that experience where they're scared, they're in that lower
If
astral
I'm having
realm
a
and
bad day, I won't even attempt to get out. If I'm just in a not a good mood or having a bad day, I'm like, it's just time to go to sleep. But there's been times where I've been trying to go to sleep and I've been pulled across my bed, like inched across my bed. And I'm like, I kind of shake out of it because, like I said, I don't get sleep paralysis. So, but sometimes I get pulled out to where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go for it and see what's out there. You were talking about the leprechaun guy or just meeting these entities or these spirit guides that just give you this overwhelming sense of love and it's so emotional. And I've met what I assume to be one of my guides, and I I believe I spoke to the council about this, and they said that they thought she was like a fairy guide type of entity, and she was small, and
Mm.
she says to me, I walk and I'm coming through my grandma's house that I grew up in whenever I was a kid. So I come to the front door and she's standing there and there's a couple other people. They look like just normal people standing there. And she said, I've been waiting for you. And she sticks her little arms out and I pick her up and I've just never felt so much love in my life. And I just started bawling my eyes out and she just hugs me and we walk out and there's this like it looked like a deck, but it had stairs up to it, and it was a round, deck made out of like what wood or banisters around it. And there's all these dogs and cats everywhere. There was all these animals everywhere,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was
That's
just
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah. That's really cool. Animals
Yeah,
animals are really cool in the
yeah,
astral. They're all like I had a dog that I had to put down because he bit too many people, and
yeah.
he comes half of my astral projections, he comes. but I said a prayer for him, really, emphatically after I had to put him down, and I think that made a difference. Now, some people can take it or leave it, but if you write your dreams down, if you speak your affirmations out and your objectives, and which would be, you know, basically like prayers, what you want to do, um, how you want to see your life go, or you just talk, just like you would talk to a friend, and try that before you go to bed, and maybe meditate a little bit before you go to sleep. Listen to some hemisync or something. You'll find that you won't have any. You'll have less. You'll have less nightmarish type dreams, and then you'll have more vivid dreams, so that you might be able to, get a lucid dream going.
Yeah.
Have you guys found after because I can ask you this because I'm kind of a golden oldie and you guys are a little newer at this, how did your life change? I mean, after you discovered this, how did you, I mean, I guess I want to say, what did you do differently in your life, or how did you walk through your life differently after this happened to you?
I
That's a good
lost a lot of fear.
question.
Yeah, I lost a lot of fear from the time I could think for myself as a child. I was always wondering, what if, what's next? I've always had paranormal experiences. So I always thought it was the house. And just recently, within the last year or so, I realized it's not the houses, it's me. These experiences aren't happening to other people. And, I've talked to people and I've asked them, you've never had a paranormal experience. You've never heard anything or seen anything or felt anything that you can't explain. No, no, and that just blew my mind. I thought everybody felt these type of things, and I'm talking about while I'm awake. So
Right,
I
right.
always wondered, well, if there's that, then there's something more.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just changed it I don't have fear anymore. The only thing I worry about is leaving my children before they're old enough to fend for themselves. So that's where I think it's changed me is I don't worry about dying. I'm not scared of that anymore. And like
You're
whenever
not
my grandmother died, I had a lot of fear. And our not fear, but I was really sad she was gone, and I wasn't for sure that there was an afterlife then. Well, I had that experience in October of 2020 before my mom passed, and then by December of 2020, my mom was gone, and I went and took her off life support and didn't even cry. And I
right.
know that sounds, but I
No,
didn't.
no,
I
no,
was happy she wasn't suffering
that's actually
anymore.
correct. That's actually correct. There's a strong indication. What I pick up is people that hang on to their loved ones so tightly after their passing. It's kind of like Jericho, my German Shepherd, like coming back. I mean, I want him to move on. I want him to incarnate into a person, but I know he's downstairs right now.
Yeah,
But that's what happens with people. You need to kind of be their physical, spiritual guide and say, go on into the light, and the whole rigmarole, that they say. But you need to ascend, you need to go on with your life. And I hate to say this too, but the more you might pray afterwards about them and worry about them and just, grieve so strongly, especially grief, which is like, it's antiquated. It's the antithesis of love, but in a direction that is like holding them down. You really don't want to grieve to that amount. You need to let it go and let them go.
right.
Yeah.
I was in Mexico within 2 weeks after my mom passed, singing me and Bobby McGee on a stage with an acoustic band in Cabo San Lucas. So I had
Right
plans to
on.
go, and I was like, I don't know if I should go because my mom just passed. But I was like, my kids have been watching me kind of frump around the house. I need to go and yeah, just get this out of my system, have some time to myself, let my kids have a break from me. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I did.
Well,
So
I was talking about that emotion and thought, deadly cycle where you had this fear, or you were this really neurosis, worried about, like everybody has, about the future. Oh, is this going to work? Oh, is that going to happen to me? Am I going to get this job? My kid's going to hate me when they grow up? I don't whatever keeps you up at night. You let go of that stuff. I think that's a very common thread. But I want to hear from Katie to see if she noticed anything in particular in her daily activities after she had her experience the first few times? Was there anything
Yeah.
like, wow.
It really seems like it builds all the time. The more that I dive into reading William Buellman and other authors and then listening to interviews, and it's like it gives me new things to look at in a different way. I think right after it happened, I mean, it was all I could think about.
Yeah,
And really, the daily walk into work and around, it's, looking at the leaves blowing in the trees,
yeah,
noticing the grass, and just
yeah, being
thinking about
closer to nature. Yeah, being closer to
really,
nature. Yeah.
yeah, definitely a closer, and I've always
That's your stillness. That's your awareness, the awareness of your awareness that I was babbling about before. You're becoming so much acutely attuned to your environment, and I think that's excellent. And the uh,
I
the seeking that you're doing and reading and all that, that's the obsession. See, you you have it's kind of a two-edged sword. The stillness and the obsession. Because I mean, it's good to learn always and more about this because it will induce more. Usually, always, and when you're reading, especially, I think. Or well, for me, it's reading. I have more out of the body experiences when I'm reading rather than listening.
mm,
But that's just one me. But yeah, the the focus that you get is changed. You've shifted a little bit there, Katie. It sounds like, and that's excellent. I know
I
exactly what you're saying too. And I know what Brianna's saying about the animals and how, the entities, and these are constructs that we go into. They're made for us, and they're they're like 100% made for us. They're it's an infinite amount of possibilities. Like people say, where do you want to go in the astral? What do you want to do? It's like it's infinite. It's like so, like, I guess maybe I'm lucky. I get so far in the astral and I get emotional and I snap back in my body because you get emotion and it's a joy. It's a reflex of joy and love. So if you feel that and you can extend it with being more detached, like, kind of a bodhisattva, a Buddha, and then you could stay in the astral longer, I believe. But I can see in both of you that you have a strong, a strong love factor. You have this caring, you have this stability in your voices that's genuine. Genuine these days is unusual. I mean, they say, I ignore most people. I mean, I'm not going to, like, it's so good to talk to you guys because let's face it, a lot of people, my family, just like you were saying, this is completely beyond them, just except for my wife. It's just 100 million miles away, the average person. So, but you still integrate that. You love and care. I can tell in your voices, and you have great gratitude for your lives. And people might say to me, well, what do you want out of your life? And I just say, I just want joy. I want simply just joy and creativity, as much creativity as possible. Lay it on me, as much joy as possible. Anything else I avoid. Try, it isn't like I'm in denial because I want to help. I know you have to help. That's another Buddhist thing. You can tell I'm read a lot of Buddhism stuff, and I have friends that are very closely involved in it. That you want to have the gratitude, you want to have the love, you want to have the self-sacrifice, and you want it, and the gratitude and the giving. And so putting those together will ascend your spiritual nature. And that spiritual nature will come out at night when all the spirits are alive and when you can separate naturally, like everybody when you go to sleep. I mean, have you had people in your dreams you haven't recognized before? That's from a past life. I mean, you know them. I mean, you know them, but you don't know their names. I mean, you recognize them, but you don't know them. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah, that's your
yeah,
astral. Yeah, good. Yeah.
I man, I had a wild it was it was a really lucid, vivid dream, I don't know. But anyway, long story short, there was a gentleman that I ran into, and I just he was communicating with through, uh, feelings, like the words were coming through thoughts, not speaking, and I just felt all this love that he had for me, and I said, "Who are you? I don't understand." And he said, "You've just forgotten." And then this wave of sadness washed over me. But anyway, that is
Wow.
just stuck with me so much, and there's so much more to that story. I won't tell,
Yeah.
it's a long one. But so, yeah, like you said, that was wild to me. I hadn't experienced that before.
Yeah. Yeah. If you write your dreams, I find that you'll have better dream recall. And if you say your affirmations out loud, they'll work better for you. I do both, but I mean, I do silently and out loud. Yeah. The verbalized, the intensity that you can have in just regular vivid dreams is like I said earlier, most of my encounters with my relatives are in vivid dreams. And I can tell it's them and I can tell they're real. They're not just a dream. I'm with them. I'm in the astral because the emotion and the hugging that goes on and the tears that go on and um, the telepathy that goes on. So there's so much about consciousness that is undiscovered. And yeah, the consciousness thing is a real big thing. I'm very that's why I wrote this book, mostly because I wanted to express the possibilities of this connection. If people were so much more connected to everything, you know, and everybody else, that not only would we have a much pleasanter place, planet, um, we we'd all get along.
I'd like to have you back on though, Dick, because I think there's plenty of more ground that we would cover, and I love hearing from you. There's this, everybody says something can harm you. We have a lot of people that join, and their first question is body snatchers or be careful because people can, swap your body out. Or do you believe anything can physically harm you in the astral?
No, you're immortal. You're impenetrable. You're indestructible. You're like what was that Bruce Willis movie where
Oh,
he couldn't be destroyed, and his son kept on putting more weights on his, and he kept on lifting more and more weights.
Is
You're
it glass? No,
yeah.
not glass.
It was glass.
Yeah,
invincible?
it's glass.
It's glass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like that. I will say though, as far as consciousness is a tricky thing. There is something, I think there's so much we don't know, we can only ponder upon. This is one of those things because you did mention something about consciousness or what could happen. Because the question always comes up, well, is somebody going to go in your body when you're out of it? No, that's not going to happen. But mm, there is this thing where if you ascend to a construct that this is a little ET-ish again, because I'm also I have
I
one.
think it's all hand in hand.
Yeah, it is. It is, Brianna. It's all one thing. Everybody has to
Yeah.
realize this stuff. So what I was going to say is that you might make a contract with one of these higher beings and say, hey, let me hang with the crew, on your trans-dimensional orb and travel through the multiverse for a while, and you can hang at Earth for a while. Now that I think is a possibility and would lock up all three of us like 20 years ago if we said that to our psychiatrist. I'm sure. But as far as dangers, it's all in your mind. It's all your ego and which is you know definitely buried with all those shadow things in your subconscious. And I will bring Buddha up again in Buddhism. The first thing that when these fellas are practicing dream yoga or dream or sleep yoga, which are two practices within the Buddhist tradition towards enlightenment, nirvana, whatever, clear light mind, all those things. They're going to confront in the lucid dreams, they're shadows. So you can do that. You get in a lucid dream because everybody's a dream character, first of all, which are just your subconscious mind generations. Just, just for an example, how your subconscious mind works, look at, just study your dreams. I mean, they're so intricate. They're so powerful. It's like Inception, right? On steroids. Your dreams are invincibly powerful and big. You can do things in your dreams. And that's what they taught them to do. The Buddhists would say, hey, subconscious shadow people, come visit me. I want to do battle with you. And so it is a practice for centuries. All this stuff we're talking about is like centuries old. It's like, we could have been reincarnated, from Egypt 2,000 years ago, the three of us, it is. It's like that. All the possibilities that are out there, the miracles are endless and indescribable and unimaginable. But it does give you pause if you realize you get out of your body and you can, through thought projections and the loss of your ego and getting close to your higher self, your spiritual self, and opening yourself up to the infinite, opening yourself up to source, to unity consciousness, to God, and let those powers to be that we can't imagine, that are unspoken and undescribable, take a hold of you and take you to places you can't even imagine. So, I love
That's
I
a
love
good
the
point.
idea. Yeah, I love the idea of it.
Me too. I
Fought
think
with
that
anybody in your have you fought with anybody in your dreams? Do you have nightmarish dreams, either of you? Do you have
I never have nightmares anymore.
do you have
I don't
repetitive?
actually.
That's good. When you were a child, did you ever have repeated scary dreams? What?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, terrors. I had the same nightmare over and over
That's
again as a
it.
child,
That's it.
and I don't know why to this day, but I remember I would be in this room and me and mom always watch scary movies, but I'd be in this room and the floor looked like a grill, like grates, and there was fire not coming up out of it, but you could see it below it. And I was on this recliner and Freddy Krueger would come in the room and I'd hear him scratching the walls and I'd have to get up and jump up off this recliner and run across these grates to get out of this room and then I'd take off running through the woods. And it happened over and over and over all the time.
Yep. I had them too. That's you grow out of it. So I don't know how I got out of mine. I can tell you my nightmarish one, since we're on the ghouly stuff right now. Freddy Krueger, that's a real how do you fight that? He goes into your dreams, right? That's the scariest thing,
Exactly.
right? Uh
Yeah.
yeah, it's like no, it can't be scarier. You can't have a scarier horror movie than that.
Mm,
So you
yeah.
you picked the best one, Brianna, I think.
I know. Believe me, I know.
But I had this insidious one, and I don't know how I grew out of it, but I think I still might have to integrate it a little more. Like, I have to put my face in a book and read it when I'm on the jet plane. So it might be from that. But when I was a kid, I would have all four walls, ceiling and floor come in until my head popped.
Terrifying.
So
That's awful.
That is awful.
It's like just the dread of knowing
Right.
what's going to happen. That's awful.
it was probably a past life where I was crushed, while building the pyramids or something. I don't know. Something.
I I constantly, I still seems like average, monthly, I dream about running from a tornado. So,
Wow.
I don't know. Tornadoes, lots of tornado dreams.
I know a lot of people are afraid of, like, drowning.
Mhm.
A lot of people have nightmares about that. So I'm glad I don't have that one.
I'm a
Anyway,
strong swimmer, so I don't think I have nightmare. I've never had a nightmare about that.
yeah, but I'm talking about some previous lives, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, our kids are me and her daughter and my son are both like obsessed with the Titanic and my son won't get on a cruise ship to save his life. He does not
Oh,
want nothing to do with it. And It's just we went and took him to Pigeon Forge to see the Titanic, the museum, and he was more concerned with the artifacts and looking in the staterooms than he was touching the cold water like all the other kids were. So I actually remember we were talking, me and you, Dick, were talking about taking him to go see, if there was anything to come of that, if there was anything that could have been a past life type thing, because I often wonder why he's just so fixated on the Titanic. It's a big deal to him.
Have you guys either had a psychic reading or a past life regression?
I
I've
would
had a
love
psychic reading.
to. I would love to do either of those.
Would ya? Okay.
Yeah,
I
I looked I think I looked up the past life regression and it was really expensive.
Oh boy,
So
darn it.
I
I
don't
guess
know.
my idea.
And then you have to find someone credible and,
Yes. Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a registry of psychics out of the UK. They go through a strict regiment of qualifying, and I don't remember the name of that school, and it wasn't Hogwarts. But yeah, I had friends that have seen psychics and had no past lives things though. I like I say, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of a prude or I'm a purist or something. It seems like a hack, and I don't know. I just I'm hacking stuff enough with just astral projecting.
I like I wanna do the mirror, experience that you said you did, and, I mean, where you seeing different faces, and I've heard that before
Mm,
from somebody else,
yeah, yeah, the
and
mirror.
so
Mm,
that's interesting,
yeah, you can.
and it'd be free.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But I know a
I
lot
did
of
that as
people
a
say
child with friends. We would sit and stare in the mirror until our
Uh-huh,
face changed, and
uh-huh.
we did all kinds of stuff as kids. The one thing I never messed with was a Ouija board. That's where I draw the line at. I don't mess with Ouija
Yeah,
boards.
that's a bad hack too. I mean, that's seriously a bad hack,
I agree.
especially with young people. There's like talk about their egos are just blossoming and expanding. Yeah, it's not good.
No, I agree. Is there anything else you wanted to ask, Katie?
Yes, all kinds of stuff.
I was gonna say we could talk all night if you guys want. I'm down with that. We can break it up into I told him, I said, if we run over, I said we can just break it up into a two-part episode. It's fine.
When are we going to be at a two-part episode here? Pretty soon?
Well, if we we're at 98 minutes right now.
Oh, okay.
So I try to keep him at about an hour, a little over. Like the last one was about an hour and a half. So I
But
think
I bet
we're right up.
I bet maybe with yeah, some of the edits and stuff might take some of that out, so,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I mean, I'm a newbie here, so I don't know how long a podcast is supposed to be, you know?
Oh, it doesn't
So
matter.
if
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't yeah. So if I want to take bits and pieces and make snippets for other platforms, and that's what I'll do, and we'll just wing it. That's what we're doing. We're winging it.
Well, we did cover a lot.
We did.
I mean,
I enjoyed it.
yeah, maybe we should just call it here, and then you can edit it and make it a tight presentation.
I think it's pretty good. I don't think there's gonna be too much editing.
Yeah,
There's a couple yeah.
yeah.
So,
There is so much. I've been doing this for a while, and as far as talking about how astral projection can cover such a wide range of your life and experiences, not to mention the integration and how much you can change from learning it. But I'm happy with what we've talked about so far tonight. I know you guys might have some more questions, but I'd be happy to come back anytime.
I'd love that. I think that would be great.
Okay.
I'm gonna give your book I'll put your book in the description. I can find your, link on Amazon, and there you go. I'm
Two
excited to get my hands on that. I wanna read it. I'm
I-
totally into that type of stuff.
If I can just say one thing about the book, since you brought it up, I'm really,
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll just say a little bit about it. And that is I think it's a very relevant topic today. And it seems to be, there was just a disclosure meeting, disclosure, what do they call it? Hearing with Luna, with Paulina Luna. And
Mhm.
she runs the investigation. They're still trying to pass some laws for protection against whistleblowers and
As they should.
about about protecting or disclosure itself, about giving so much of this information that's been for 50 or 70 years now been hidden from our leadership in our country and in the world. They're hiding it from everybody. But I if I could, I just want to I have an author's note about my story, and this is why I wrote it. So I said this will take about 2 minutes, I think, or 3 minutes.
You're fine, Dick. Go ahead.
Okay. This is just my author's note at the beginning of the book. What is catastrophic disclosure and why the word catastrophic? This was a partial reason for writing Two Black Op Fears of Catastrophic Disclosure, as well as many other less trivial reasons, but still relevant enough in terms of studying studies around human nature and the ultimate question, who am I? The word catastrophic was assigned a specific meaning as when and if alien contact was openly presented to the world, it could produce a catastrophic reaction in everybody's daily lives. This, of course, assumes a malevolent encounter and not one believed to be much more dangerous of an encounter. My personal interpretation for the use of the word catastrophic falls into one big bucket called government propaganda. It was conjured up by the power elite now running the world simply to scare people, especially in light of so much obvious cover up by those in power to essentially maintain that power. Some suggest holding information from the public is a matter of embarrassment after decades of covering up previous random encounters with intelligent life. It was just too much. It would be just too much for our leaders' fragile psyches to divulge this information. Others use the false patriotic excuse that it's simply for national security, so don't ask us anything. This book poses a fictional scenario that clears the air for open and fruitful disclosure, a scenario steeped in conspiracy and human potential for the evolutionary possibilities of freeing our minds. The plot is offered as an example of hope for society. From the beginning of recorded time, mankind excelled best at conflict and killing. I only ask, is there another way? That is what this book is. That is what this book, in fictional form, was written to express and convey, with dreams of peaceful and prosperous future for everyone. Sooner or later, we have to look beyond our minds. So that's just a note I put at the beginning of the book. But the book is exciting. There's a lot of stuff
It
going
sounds
on.
like it.
And I think it's close. We're using the engineering, my engineering background in up-to-date technologies that I include in the book, quantum theory and, you know, Campbell kind of stuff, consciousness stuff, that it might be a plausible scenario for what really
Yeah.
going on. Like we said before, all this paranormal stuff and astral projection you can throw in there is in one big bucket. And it's not government propaganda. It's human potential. What could be more potential than to meet other beings that have been watching us and waiting for our ascension? Maybe they're waiting for,
Bingo.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So you kind of get the drift of where I'm going with my book. You guys know me
Yeah.
well enough, just talking to me, you kind of know where it's going to go. But
Yeah.
I think I wrote a good story. And, I always appreciate a page turner kind of story. But it also, my, my friends and other colleagues that I have come back and told me that they haven't read anything like it, and they have to read it more than once and stop and go back from one paragraph to the next. So they make sure they stay up with my crazy thoughts.
That's
I don't
good. We're
know.
making that neuroplasticity
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, you got it,
Exactly.
Randy.
Get them wheels turning.
Yeah. More grief.
Yeah. I love it.
So thanks
I'm
for
looking forward to it.
yeah, thanks for letting me
Once we read your book, I'd love to have you back on because Katie, I'm sure she's going to dive into it too. And within the next few months, we'll get you back on. We got some people lined up. So I'm going to get back to you once I get your book
thank
under
you.
wraps. And
Thank you very much.
yeah, we'll get you back on so we can discuss some more of it. And there's more things I'd like to talk to you about. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
We'll
so
talk about a lot more.
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for accepting the invite. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys keep going now. Keep going.
We're pushing, baby. We're going
I know
for
you
the
are.
stars. So
All right.
thank you, Dick. I hope you
Okay.
have a good evening and I hope everybody enjoyed the show and tune in next time and please like and subscribe. We can show up in your feed and we'll see you later. Bye.